Okay, let's get this week rolling here. So Friday was an interesting day in that seemed like the Bulls party possibly was over. And I guess we maybe have to take a look at the spiders really to get a keener view into that, and maybe even a intraday chart. Good morning. Good morning. So we had this gap down on Friday after coming back from the holiday. Right? So we went out with holiday with the bar that was like, this thing's going to hit all-time highs, probably on the open, and maybe continue to run. And markets don't always do what you think they'll do, even when the chart says they'll do it. So we had this gap down. You can see where the open is on this bottoming tail bar, almost to the low of that solid green bar. And I say solid because the wicks on the top and the bottom are minuscule. You can hardly see them. They're so small. And so the markets went lower. And you can see right here, as a 15-minute chart, gap down, and they kept going. And there really wasn't any really significant support, but I guess it got close enough for buyers to feel comfortable with buying in that area. And so they got the reversal going, but the impressive part is they were able to get it going all the way back up into the gap fill to close it with a bottoming tail bar. So bar by bar analysis is such to say, look, this is in an uptrend. This is where our major support is. You've got a big green bar that gapped up. There's an unfilled gap here. There's an unfilled gap here. Looks like maybe there's one here. I'm not sure. Just eyeballing it in any event. So now we've got what we call a correction bar, which is bullish. Prices dipped down under that bar's low and prices rallied back. So when it came down to a level where buyers felt it was worth picking up shares, right? Regardless of what we're looking at here, we're looking at spiders, but if we were looking at XYZ, we'd interpret it the same way. Formed a bottoming tail bar that closed almost at its high. So now markets are down here a little bit. Big deal for now. If they can trade above the high of that bottoming tail bar, it should take out Wednesday's high. All right, theoretical is that this bottoming tail bar helped remove overhead supply that would have been willing to sell on the way up, right? Some stops got hit. We don't know whose or how many or whatever. But we know that there would have been stops under this level, that first level, very short-term traders. And then prices came back up. So if it could take out this high, a question that always comes up, well, what about that high? Well, we use what we call the weight of the evidence. Weight of the evidence being it's in an uptrend. Buyers step up on dips, bottoming tail here, bottoming tail there, big green bar. Gap down, buyers step up again. So a little bit of a congestion consolidation. So we do want some minuscule type of confirmation by trading above a prior bar's high. We always do. And so the assumption is based on the weight of the evidence. If it can take out this bar's high, it shouldn't be a big deal to take out that bar's high and attack 300. And if it trades above here and it can't trade through there and starts dipping down again, say, buyers are starting to retreat for whatever reason, because that's not what should happen. So anyway, this we got going on here. Let's turn this back to a weekly. I like to put it in perspective where we're starting at these new all-time highs. There's a narrow range bar where it pushed up. The majority of last week's gain came on a gap. Trader, do we expect the bottoming tail bar to hold? Yes, trader. So a bar like this, that I called it a correction bar, in a bull advance, which we would say this is, it's not what we would call a power uptrend, but it's a bullish advance, and that was the dip. we would expect it to hold. So if there's some retracement into this bar, if buyers loved it down here, well, they should want more of it as a second chance. And this is why bar by bar analysis is such a powerful concept, meaning we're taking these individual bars and we're putting in the context of the trend, support, resistance. We look at relative strength, relative weakness, what's going on between other markets and so on, market internals. So yes, that should hold. But what if we get a red bar today that trades within this bar's range? That's okay. It didn't close down below there, totally negating that bar. But if we were to get an inside day, then what we would begin to have here is a head and shoulders bottom on an hourly chart. And that would be a great pattern if, again, it could get above this high and start moving, because now you would have a more significant reference point or of establishing a short-term bottom within an uptrend. Kind of like this. It's not exactly the same, but I want to point out the interpretation is similar. Whereas, 3 bars and sometimes maybe a fourth creates a large bottom. Over here, where there was this momentum move up, the expectation would have been for a pullback, right? Maybe test this unfilled gap, some normal retracement level, whatever, 40%, 50%. It didn't do that. It went sideways for 3, 4, 5 days, building up that bottoming pattern, right, which was on the 13th. Right, so we'll go to the 13th, right around in here, right through here, it forms that bottoming pattern. And whereas this one, right, you can see the line moving there. Those 3 days were doing that. And now currently what we have here, right, these days, you could see if we got the inside day, it's not a great head and shoulders example, but you know what I mean. I mean, if I change this to a day chart without looking at the overnight trading, it still doesn't pop out at you that way. But anyway, you know what I mean as far as, stabilization, sideways here. If you see that it begins to build a base, and that could launch into a move to new all-time highs and hit that 300 number and possibly above. So that's what we're looking for to happen. Now, as we look through other markets, we look for agreement between those markets. So we have the Qs here, NASDAQ 100, this dipped down. It actually gapped below the green bar's low and went down, and it reversed and came right back up again. And now it's up into that resistance. Now let's go back to our 24-hour chart, see where that's at. Where are you? Time templates, 24-hour. Right. So now we see it's starting off here on a dip down toward 189, 190. It's down here, so gapping down, right? So grinding down, but gapping down. So now, what does it do? Now we wait. Okay, buyers, come on, soldiers, step up here. Right? Who's going to get killed? Who's going to take command of the battlefield here? We want to sit and watch a little bit and see who goes down, right? Maybe it forms a breakdown failure where it dips down, leaves a few dead traders down there, and then it pops back up again, and they go to second attack. Everybody's coming back up into this range, and maybe today we get a range trading day where we get back up to the highs. And that's when, look, because it's down here, common sense, we're not pressing the long accelerator until we get some evidence of stabilization, because it's gapping down again. But it comes back up, and now we have that 3-bar consolidation up there, right? It's time to press the accelerator tomorrow. If we get that, because now we've got 3-bar stabilization, new all-time highs, just above, should be like punching through, paper mache, just knocking through, and it goes higher. Now we see that this June run, was a straight up thing and up there. So but we're getting some consolidation here. That's a good thing versus just poking up through it. So we'll see how that unfolds. Transports, kind of a mess, but they're hanging in there. So we like the fact that they're at least they're hanging in there. They're back up above the moving averages. So I was able to get through this congestion. This is working on this. We got a bottoming tail bar there Friday. It's not great, but it's improving. So we'll see if this can move up. Like the week before last had a bottoming tail bar. So buyers on the dip correction bar there. Russell held up the best at the end of the day yesterday. On Friday, where the markets try to, like they were going to come down a little bit, and they did. They kind of inched down, and buyers aggressively stepped up again. They really showed that they were willing to step up in front of the weekend, and the assumption is the markets would go higher. But if you look at the Russell intraday, when they dipped down, it just kind of just stood there. It was like, anybody want to sell? We'll take it. And it went sideways. So that was pretty bullish what it did. And so now we'll just see it's down a little bit. Everything else, we'll just see what it does. Looking at the futures. So no big deal. Higher high, higher low, higher high. I even like the way the distance between the highs, meaning, let me get a pen here. It's easier to show this. There we go. So when you look at moves off of a low, right? Strong move, powerful move. It's an okay move, right? It's not as powerful as this one, but it wasn't just the bare peekaboo above the high. And now this one is kind of similar to that one. So another good show of decent momentum, where if it had just made a little peekaboo above that high there, then your indicator mythology people would be saying, oh, bearish divergence, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so I'm showing you the real way to check momentum without any indicators there. So decent move, decent push with some strength above that prior high. But a little bit of weakness here, probably waiting, okay, China, US, you're not going to more tariffs. What now? Give us some information. When are you talking? All right, we got to wait a whole month here for the Fed, the next Democratic debates to laugh at. And so now this little inside day, no biggie so far. Let's see if it turns into a green bar or goes down. Inside bar so far. Well, better to sit around here and do nothing or find an individual stock that's showing relative weakness or strength. Qs, same story. Same story there. They're coming down. We got some pretty good support down here. This actually established new support. And so this is the concept of creating a support point. Right? Here's the old. This pivoted and created a support point. It tested resistance. Buyers lost control, back down here again. So now we wait to see who can step up and hold this area, maybe get it back up. But so far, all we got is an inside day here going on for the moment at resistance on the weekly time frames. So some consolidation makes perfect sense. So would you be based on the upside for intraday trading today? With the appropriate pattern, yes. So let's just, I've got YM up here. So let's assume YM was to come down to this 29,691 level, right? And it came down here, right? And it began to stabilize and it started to do this. Yes, then I would. So a better way of looking at your question is to say, at what location would I need to see what type of pattern form that would allow me to go long? Is there a tradable void above? Were there any failures attempt to go lower? at that location. And this is what we build on in Master Trader Technical Strategies, is what we call a thought process. So your question is very broad. To answer that question, I'm answering that to you with a much more powerful answer than a yes or a no, because I'm telling you what to do yourself. Gold, let's take a look at it. Well, let's get through oil first and bonds. Oil kind of trying to come back. It's kind of on the edge here. So here's a situation where here's an intraday pattern that I would consider going long. But I look at the daily and I'm like, well, how far is this thing going to go here? Well, it's a wide range bar. Theoretically, it could have a decent move for an intraday trade. It might be worth a shot just to see, but it's not going to make a huge move with this kind of a pattern. So keep it in perspective. It's more of a kind of a pattern that it actually could fail and maybe it just never gets through here and comes back down and chops around. So it's not a great pattern. Bonds are up here a little bit. That was a nasty move to the downside last week, which got TBT, saving from falling into the abyss here down low, which would have inverted every yield curve. I'm talking the 3-month versus the 30-year. I think is the only one not inverted just yet. So that would have been a really bad sign. Which TC2000 tab is that you call? No, this is eSignal Trader. I'll show you the other one, which I know I got to email you through TC2000. I actually decided to take a couple of hours off yesterday afternoon, and I didn't get to it, but I get to it later today. So the big gap up there looks like the start of a bottom. It's right into this congestion. You can see it's down a little bit, so it's got some work to do to build that up. And gold, we know the story there. Giant breakout on the monthly. And just go to that because it looks like it's going to possibly set up a 1, 2, 3 continuation. So if that is the case, which means July is probably going to be a wait and see for gold as it consolidates those gains, that big run up the wide range bar, and to say, hey, let's see what's going on here, with this news and Fed announcement and blah, blah, blah. So that right now this pattern is saying be a buyer. But right now it's chopping around. So maybe if it dips down to here, maybe you want to put on a little position and wait to see if it pops back up. Little position, not full position. Maybe you get it on the cheap, and then you need some patience to wait and see, what it's going to do. So that's it. Let me turn it over to Dan. I talked too long.
Good morning, folks. All right. In the weekly options trader, we only have 2 positions. Amazon put spread for Friday. 1 second. So that's gapping down there halfway into the range, but that looks totally fine. Twilio, we have a put spread. That's gapping down a little bit, but nice bottoming tail reversal on Friday. So that looks fine. Opens, let's see, WNS. This one actually just barely hit our stop on Friday. A run, long stock, and I lowered the stop to Friday's low. The old White House, we're in trail stop mode. acting very nice. Tilray, covered call. And he's on probation after this kind of failed breakout. Mylands, we're long stock in trail mode. And RPD, covered call. Might tighten the stop to Friday's low. And that's it. That's fairly late inventory. Apple getting whacked here on a downgrade to a sell. Some guys saying give it a price target of 150, which is a 25% haircut. Boeing's also getting whacked here. I don't know what the news is. But every time I talk to my pilot friends, they're just saying it's horrible. There's an article in the journal saying they were firing, Boeing was firing, talented engineers and hiring some kids in India. I don't know, but the chart says they got problems too. It's gapping under all of this. It's a total mess. But now maybe a call spread over Friday's high. MDC had earnings. Oh, they lost some orders, sorry. MDC gapping up on earnings, 34 bucks. Hey, that's actually a nice gapper. I'm gonna put that right here, MDC. ITCI getting whacked, 11 bucks, way down here. AMD, I just saw this on the ticker today, with the Dow being, down 100, this thing kept buzzing by, up 35, 40 cents, so that's relative strength. That's a 30-minute high candidate. Boyd, when this kind of a reverse head and shoulders broke out here, keep an eye on it. We have a lot of bullish setups in our letters here. A lot of swing trades. Here's one of them, K-Toss. Kind of a minor 1, 2, 3 continuation, all-time highs. The Cody, it's all breaking out. This is actually a Bull Island reversal. This was a gap down. They come in different flavors. And that's going to be Wednesday's MT Live is Island reversals. WP. Let's see, so this is an example again when it's okay to buy after 4 up bars because of this bottoming tail. That was our little resting spot, a 1-day rest. HLF, it's a mess, but I like this big green bar right here, the 20 MA flattening out over last week's high. McGraw put spread candidate. JWN's a mess. BMY, a mess. News, someone ordered, WP is really trading off fist price. WP off fist price. Okay, yeah, they look identical. All right. Yeah, they look. All right. This one over Friday's high. CVLT bottoming pattern looks higher. Akamai breakout. C block breakout. BA continuation. It already broke out. Broke out last week. Let's see here. LDOS, continuation breakout. SAIC, breakout. All these bullish things. 10B, little breakout, but I like the 20 and 50 curled up. You got a higher high, higher low. Keep an eye on that one. Ooh, Juniper. Look at that shock pattern. That was a long of ours too. So it's obviously invalid. Wow, that's a shock pattern. Toughen, breakout. I like the bear sandwich. Lou, good morning. The ones I'm saying that are in the letter, it's our swing advisory letter. And I don't give them to I don't post all those trades in here in the green trading room, but I give you the updates to them. Snap, I like here, a little breakdown failure. And I did a lesson on that, CMG, put spread I like. EWZ, I like a put spread. Hack is the ETF for cybersecurity. CGC, this was the co-CEO getting fired, but it was a gap reversal. Bonds here moving. I'm looking at, I always got my FANG stocks up. Look at Facebook is weak. Netflix, weak. Netflix, we had a put spread that we bailed on, break even last week. Beyond, I'm keeping an eye on, maybe a put spread. It's perking its head here on the 15. Q's selling is picking up here on all the index ETFs. So, Greg gave the review. We'll see what the end of the day is like. I would just be in day trade mode right now. But if these consolidations, fail, then we could have a little breakout failure. Yeah, no, it looks good. RVLB. Oh, you had a put spread in that, right? From Friday morning? Oh no, you did it on this topping tail day. I remember. No, because I remember it was this day. And when it had that deep retracement, I canceled it. But it looks good. Looks good higher now. Intel, wow, remember I bailed on that? We had a covered call, and I did not like the way it was acting that day. This was the Micron SMH. It was on this gap up day. I'm waiting to do the nice reversal bar here. But I don't think it's going to make a new high because of the way it's coming in deep, and then you got an ugly reversal on the weekly. Zulu Sierra, we had as a put spread idea. It's too extended, you know, to enter it as a swing trade. RPD, our covered call, is, you know, doing its job with the short call. Look at Boeing here, getting some buying out of this pre-market support. Yeah, that's a messy pattern.